Aloha XCFL. I know I'm making Nick a little jealous there with that aloha, a little bit of the island spirit, but I got to do it every time. We're here with Vanilla Ice Pride, and he'll know what that means once he watches the award show. And we're here with what Regan called Big Game Biz. And we had a heavy dose of Regan last time, but he's out doing whatever Regan does on a Thursday night, and he's not with us tonight. So you get our show free of Regan. So feel free to stay for the whole time. You don't have to hear his Wendy's order this time. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing well, Ace.
Great. Biz, how you
Feeling
doing?
Feeling good. Feeling good.
Feeling good. So we,
Yes, sir.
you know, at the time we're recording this, I know I just got done listening to that award show, and great show. Nick, Kylo, J-Mo, Boone, really entertaining. Really appreciated listening to that. So thanks for doing that, guys. That got me pumped up, and here we are doing our fifth show. We've covered the AFC South, the AFC East, NFC North, NFC South, and today we're covering the AFC North. But before we got into that, we wanted to talk real quick. There was a team shakeup this week. Pride or Biz, do you want to run down what went down and then your kind of takes from that?
Yeah, we were discussing this before we started about what moves were made, and from what I'm aware of, Smokes went to Pittsburgh, Diesel went to Minnesota, and then Brat moved to New England. So yeah, that was
and that sent Heath to Dallas.
That's it. Yeah, that's the other one. Ooh, that's ballsy there.
Yeah, what do you think about that one?
I hope he knows
Dallas?
what he's getting himself into. I know he hasn't been around long enough to assess what kind of division that could be with Jack there. But he's gonna get he's gonna get trial by fire here. So good luck, Heath.
Yeah, I don't think he has any clue. At some point, I think it was Ace I asked. I was like, hey, who should I avoid, right? Like, I'm still new. I don't know who I should take, what team, who should I avoid? And he was like, well, Jack. And then I think you listed VBD as a guy to kind of, just avoid them. They're pretty good. And definitely a very bold decision by Heath just to go ahead and jump in that division. So funny story about it. We're doing the Invitational, and Boone has created a graphic that has all of the logos of the teams that are in. Well, Heath was the Vikings, and he switches to the Cowboys. And earlier today in the chat, I think he asked Boone to switch his logo on the graphic. Heath, I don't think that's how this works.
Well, I think he's in for a rude awakening. That's a tough division. Even Grizz over there. I mean, when Grizz's head is in the game, he plays like a boss, and so that's going to be a tough introduction to the XCFL for Heath. What do you think about some of these other guys' moves? We know a little bit about Drop because he was the Jags before.
Yeah.
So he's actually a good player. Do you think that he steps in and is automatically the favorite in the AFC East?
I'd say so. Yeah, he showed a lot. I think he was the owner before Biz came on, right?
That's right.
Nah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. He had instant success with that team.
Yeah. And he did that with a trash roster because he left me with garbage.
I'll tell you what, he played with them well. Every time I played him, it was a challenge, and he worked really well with the quarterback. What was your quarterback's name that I was after for a little bit? I'm already forgetting his name. Bartram, that's right.
Yeah.
And so he used him well. He had them receivers going well. I mean, he played really well, and I think he's going to step in. We already talked about those Patriots that are kind of built to go now. You better win with them quick because they're going to need some work later. I think he can step in and do really well with them real quick. So these newer guys, Smokes and Diesel, I really couldn't tell you one way or the other. But we'll cover Smoke's team with the Steelers today and see how they look on paper. So why don't we jump right into it? Pride, you got the Bengals, who are being manned up by Wings. Why don't you take it away?
Yep, so Wings is actually going to start a cycle. I know he inherited his team from Brent, who did a great job of handing Wings a solid roster. So Wings will be able to do what he wants with a stock roster here. And looking at this roster, it's actually not as bad as we would think when you say the Bengals. You're controlling the Bengals, and it starts with his boy Joe Burrow, who came out as a who's superstar dev. So Wings is an elite passer. He's going to be able to dev him up. Now, he might have some trouble with this ASIC throw power, but with that dev trait, maybe he could get a bump or two, maybe 88, 89, range, to make him a little more dangerous. And he's going to have an actually decent wide receiving core to throw to, and that starts up top with AJ Green, and then John Ross, I think Tyler Boyd, and then he has one other guy on here, Alden Tate. And actually, John Ross is the fourth best, rated receiver on that team, surprisingly. So it's a deep position grouping. So Wings is not going to have a problem moving the ball in the air with Burrow and those four. And I haven't even mentioned T. Higgins yet, but I'll cover him in the bad portion of the segment here. Another standout for this team is honestly the pass rush. It's good, but it's a little bit older. I know Dunlap's 31, Atkins is 32, but Atkins is 88 overall. He's got DJ Reader, defensive tackle, 84 overall. Dunlap's an 82 overall, and then he's got Carl Lawson, 25 years old, 80 overall. So that front four, if he's running a 4-3, he's got that front four, 80 or higher, and it's really gonna set the tone for his defense. He lacks what he lacks in the linebacking core. His front four is really going to make a difference here. Another strength is honestly Joe Mixon. I know he ran well with his running back. I forgot his name. I know he kicked Vernon's ass up and down the
Knicks.
Up and down. Yeah, the Knicks. So he has Joe Mixon, who's 91 speed. Yeah, that's 93 acceleration. That's good enough to make a difference. And if he doesn't want to use them, Mixon is a very good trade bait if he decides to move him. And then the last thing I want to touch on is a secondary that won't wow you, but it's really it's good. It's good enough. Across the board, it's 81, 78, 77, 79, 79, and that's in an age range that ranges between 28 and 23. That's a secondary that's good. That's good now, and will only get better. And having those five, if he wants to move, a piece or two to address the holes that I'm going to cover here soon, he has the flexibility to do that. So overall, his offense should do well, but it all will depend on his O-line, which is the worst thing I've seen about this team, but probably one of the worst I've seen across the league. Going from left to right, you got a 72, 67, 68, 65, and 66. And those are your starters. Those are not depth guys. Those are not backups. Those are the starters for his that will protect Joe Burrow and open up the holes for Joe Mixon. So if there's going to be a problem for him, it's going to be pass protection. It's going to be run blocking, and if a team is going to get him, it's a team with a good pass rush. We'll see it with the Steelers. We'll see it with the Ravens. So I think Wings will have success, but he's going to really need to fix his O-line quick. And like I mentioned before, he's going to have the assets to do it. He can move an AJ Green. He can move, a John Ross. And people are going to pay for John Ross, and he can move a Mixon. So he can turn his team around fast. I did mention T. Higgins. I know everyone, once they get their new roster, they want to see how the rookies are. And T. Higgins just really got bombed on him, and with an 87 speed. And I know he's 6'4", but 87 speed, that's not what you want out of your new toy when you take over a team. So I mentioned T. Higgins on the bad part. So it's not really he's bad. He's just, not really Madden usable. So his projection long term. So what does he do? Like I mentioned, he has a lot of stuff to trade. Trade AJ Green. Trade John Ross. Because John Ross is coming up on a re-sign. So what do you do with him? Do you trade him now, or do you re-sign him to have that deep threat? We'll see. But overall, this is not a bad project for Wings, and with how well he plays, he can compete soon, and he can compete long term in this division. So I'm not sure what you guys thought of the Bengals roster when you first looked at it, but what did you guys think of the Bengals roster going into the team draft?
When I looked at the Bengals, go ahead, Biz.
No, I was gonna say I thought it could be a pretty solid roster, kind of from the onset. Not great, but I thought you would have the young pieces to really be able to build it. If you focus on Burrow, Mixon, and John Ross, I felt like there were some things on offense. Did not expect to see the offensive line look as putrid as it does. So that was pretty interesting to me. I will say we've been having this debate probably for feels like decades. Is does the offensive line in Madden matter? I don't really think that Wings is going to go out and do a lot of work to that offensive line. I think we're going to find out pretty early if it matters. If Wings turns around and goes 11-5, maybe this line thing doesn't matter. But if he struggles, we know exactly what that cause is, because he's a great gamer.
I just heard Nick rolling his eyes at us talking about O-line again, because he is a firm non-believer in O-line. But when you take a look at this O-line, it stood out to me too. When your best player is a 22-year-old sophomore and Jonah Williams at 72 overall, it's bad. It's so bad. And when you take a first look at these Bengals, you're like, wow, they don't have any players that are 90 overall or better. It looks terrible. But then you start digging in and you're like, okay, there's some pieces in here I could work with. And two that really stood out to me was middle linebacker Jermaine Pratt at 24 years old, and he's 87 speed, 89 excel. And then O-linebacker, outside linebacker Akeem Davis-Gaither, who's a 22-year-old rookie at 88 speed, 91 excel. And both of those guys are young enough to where you could develop this linebacking core around those guys, and they'll be good for you for most of the cycle. And you could really start building your defense around guys like that are young and developable, especially for a guy like Wings, who's going to win a bunch of games and get plenty of XP. So he'll be able to benefit from that, I think. So I think he's in a good position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember Jermaine Pratt was actually a good name in the last cycle, who was devved well and made an impact for a couple users. So good point on Jermaine Pratt there.
Yeah, good call. My question would be, which of those three linebackers, Gaither, Pratt, or Wilson, which of those would you position to be your middle linebacker? I think he's gonna end up putting Gaither at that middle linebacker spot, just because of his speed and change of direction as far as comparing them to the other linebackers. What do you guys think?
It's a good question, because it really depends on how he's going to use his defense. One of the most interesting things that just kind of in general for the league is going to be who continues to use their linebacker, safety. Some of these guys went because we see that change there in the user speed. And so who's going to continue to use that, or who's just going to go default to D line? So I think that makes a difference. I predict we see Wings continue to use her linebacker, and I think he'll go with that, whoever has the higher change of direction.
Mm-hmm. I agree there. Yeah. And I was gonna say he'd probably plug in the faster option in the middle, but I mean, you've got Pratt 87 speed outside. That's a great option there. So I don't think he can go wrong with either of those plugged in to the middle linebacker spot.
I agree with that. Let's take a look at Cleveland Browns. And Biz, you're going to cover the Browns, and really familiar face for the three of us because we've been playing with NWS, or NW Studley, as he may have been known in the past. If you to shorten that part out. But why don't you take it away for the Browns there, Biz?
Absolutely, yes. First off, he will always be referred to as NWS and nothing more. So he just has to accept that this is his name. We will not honor him with that, whatever he thinks he may be.
You've got to.
He is who we thought he was.
You got to talk to Widow then, because Widow had a great time with him in Vegas.
We don't need to bring that up on this show. We're trying to keep this thing PG-13 there, Brad.
Yeah, we're gonna let that one slide. We'll make Widow listen to this just so he can hear his name a few times.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
shout out to Starla.
Yeah. No. So with the Browns roster, man, there's youth all over the place. Amazingly young. They only have 4 players over the age of 30, and one of them's the long snapper, so he's gone immediately. So this roster is really, really young, positioning them to be successful for the long haul. With that said, though, how many of these young pieces will NWS try to bargain away so he can get some Ohio State players? Because I suspect that this roster will look completely different within 2 seasons with NWS at the helm. As he turns them into the Ohio State Browns. Nothing new here. But let's talk actually about this roster. Baker Mayfield, fantastic quarterback to get started. 78 overall, which isn't great, but when you consider he really stacks up well with Kyler Murray as far as that overall, you realize that they've kind of dumbed down the overall for the quarterback positions itself, trying to create that gap in the skill level. But he does really well with the accuracies, all being inside the 80s. And most importantly for Baker Mayfield and NWS, because he likes to throw the ball deep, Mayfield has 93 throw power. So that sets him up well. He's had the 82 speed, so he's going to be able to get out of trouble a little bit here. And I can't say for sure because I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure if we run with the abilities on, he's probably going to end up with some type of escape artist, just because that's his play style at some point. He's only a star now, so NWS will have to do some work to go ahead and get him that next bump. If we decide to run with the abilities on. Sticking on the offensive side of the ball, how can you not love his backfield, right? Nick Chubb, 92 overall, 92 speed. Not done yet. Kareem Hunt, 87 overall, 90 speed. This is a 1-2 punch. You could just roll these guys in and out. There's never going to be a reason for his halfbacks to be tired, which, if you believe the developers, fatigue is going to matter this season. So it's going to be interesting to see if he keeps both of them, which I would. I would keep both of them unless I got just a unreal offer, which I don't think you're going to get for a halfback. Unless I got an unreal offer, I would keep both and kind of run them in and out of that lineup. Wide receiver is loaded in my eyes. Odell Beckham, fantastic receiver, 93 speed, 91 overall. Name really speaks for itself. Jarvis Landry probably should end up in the slot frequently. My question is, who does he use as that third receiver? Does he go out and get an Ohio State alum, Curtis Samuel from the Panthers? Does he roll with what he has on the roster? And if he does, we know he likes speed. So we're gonna remove Higgins from the conversation. But does he go with Taylor, who has 91 speed, 5'11", or does he roll with Damian Ratley, 6'2", 93 speed? Guy's made for Madden. That's my thought process. He does have Donovan People-Jones, but he's still a ways down there, 66 overall, but he is 21, and we've seen NWS really go hard after those 21-year-olds and try to force feed them to really boost them up, because you could do it rather quickly inside of Madden with those dev scenarios. Man, I feel like I could talk forever about this man's offense. The tight end position is loaded. He's got 3 good tight ends. The third tight end, Harrison Bryant, rookie, but he's going to dev quickly. The issue is we know that NWS is not going to use 3 tight ends. So how quickly, who does he move? Who does he move out of that grouping? What can he get? Unlike the Bengals, this offensive line is really built for success right now, outside of their right guard position. So I think once he fills that hole, it's going to be set and solid. You can tell just based off the way I'm talking, I like this team. I like this roster. I haven't even got to the defense yet, where he's got some studs, right? Myles Garrett. We've got Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams. Grant DePleet, the rookie, and probably my favorite player off of the Cleveland Browns roster, Sheldrick Redwine from University of Miami. Go ahead and throw them U's up. Let's get it. But I just love this roster. I think they're built to win now. And again, this man is loaded with draft picks, 2 thirds, 2 fours, 2 fives, as in addition to his first and his second. He can only get younger and better, in my opinion, with this roster. So, and he has $32 million in cap space already. Go figure. The team is ready. The team is ready. I'm sure it was high upon the list. Ace, I think you saw the list of people putting in who they wanted. I can't imagine that this team wasn't a top 5 pick for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think wings changed that though. So when we saw the team selection, we saw a lot of the top 10 teams were already set in stone. And so those kind of users that were not really set on a team came a little bit later. And so when Wings took the Bengals, I think a lot of people just frankly dodged, and that opened it wide open. I was really happy to see NWS, because I don't know that there's a bigger Browns fan out there. He loves them Browns. So I was really happy to see them go to him. But I did want to comment on, you're talking about who's that third wide receiver for these Browns. And I think the answer was something that you didn't even mention. And he's currently on the block from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think that man's name is Scotty Miller. I think NWS had so much fun with Scotty Miller that he's going to go hard after her and try to get him in a Browns jersey, because what's better than putting a guy in the Hall of Fame and getting a bunch of awards like he did tonight when we're recording this? It's doing it in your favorite team's jersey in the Browns. Mm-hmm. So I think we see that attempt at least made.
Yeah, I was gonna say his number 3 receiver isn't even on his roster yet. It's got, but hopefully J-Mo, if you're listening, you better hold out for a big return for Scotty Miller.
I think that's going to be NWS' biggest problem. I think there's so many guys that he wants to go after. Either of the Bosas, he wants to go get J.K. Dobbins. He wants Scotty Miller. It's like you only got 4 trades, and we also saw a little change to the trading that kind of opens up those second rounders and after. So it should be a little wrinkle there to trading that we're used to seeing. But I think that's where he's going to be in a little bit of trouble, is trying to figure out which trigger to pull on these trades that he wants to line up.
Yeah, he's definitely emotionally invested in this roster, so he may not, some of the pieces where I know the tight end we were talking about Hooper or Njoku. I think he would easily move on from Hooper and invest in Njoku being David Njoku being a Cleveland Brown instead of Austin Hooper, what came over from the Falcons. So there's no investment there for NWS. So. I'm glad he got to see him. I love seeing guys who are, like I said, emotionally invested in the rosters get the teams, because that roster turnover, isn't as frequent as you see in Madden.
Yeah, and with this roster, there's no real
Pride
reason
gets a plug in on every show. This is Pride getting a plug in to, man, let me get them Bills next year, Rob. Come on.
I had a chance.
So, Rob, if you're listening, Pride's begging you right now. Getting this plug in.
Just give me Dawson Knox.
That'll make you feel better?
That'll be it. That's all I need.
Okay. That was pretty good coverage of the Browns there. I know you could keep talking about them, Biz, but we'll keep moving on here. And next up on our list is we got newcomer Smokes, who's going to be covering the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I had the pleasure of getting to scout these guys. Kind of a team that is not so much like the Browns, where they were super young. These guys, a little bit older, So you got a guy like 38-year-old Big Ben at quarterback, which presents an immediate problem because no one's going to follow up Mason Rudolph. That's not the answer. He's not the future of your franchise. So Ben's got 1, 2, maybe 3 more seasons. I can't even imagine that. And you need to find a quarterback quick with this team. But on the defensive side of the ball, that's where the strengths are. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick, you got TJ Watt, you got Devin Bush. So at every level of this defense, you got a stud player. So it's a really solid defense, plenty of pieces to build around. Gonna have to figure out that offense. You do have a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster who's going to do well for you. You got opportunities like this young 22-year-old wide receiver in Claypool, who he's 92 speed, 6'4" at wide receiver. So if you could develop a guy like that, he's young enough to put a lot of time and effort in, and he could be a game changer for this offense once you figure out who's going to throw to him in the long run. I think the biggest threat to this team and to Smokes is just, the three of us, anyone new to the league, coming into the XCFL, it's difficult. This is a league like no other. The longevity of the league, the amount of involvement in the league is just, it's a whole different animal from any league that you've been in before. So it's going to take Smokes a little bit of time to get settled in, to get his feet underneath him. But once he does, I think he's got a really good foundation here. I'm surprised that the Steelers weren't higher on a lot of guys' list. For example, Van, who's a big Steelers fan. I felt like this team was as good as it's been in recent years. You do have guys like John Connor at halfback. He's only 86 speed, and it's kind of like, really John Connor? But there's not a whole lot of options there at halfback, I think. So I think he'll be looking for a halfback, and maybe it's an interdivision trade like Joe Mixon, who's on the block right now. Maybe he goes outside and goes and gets somebody. But I think if he could fill some of those offensive holes, that he'll be just fine, and he'll win some games with this team. Mm-hmm. You guys, thoughts on the Steelers?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what his play style is. If he can't succeed with a slower guy like a James Conner, or if he's a speedy back kind of guy, elusive back kind of guy. And you touched on his wide receiving core, and I'm a big fan of Deontay Johnson too. And that receiving core is young, it's super young. And so if I know this roster's getting old, but if you want to dangle Smith-Schuster out there and get something back. I mean, he's got great options behind him in Washington, Johnson, and then like the guy you said, Claypool.
Yeah,
Any thoughts, Biz?
I think this Steelers roster is. I'm not a big fan of it. There's so much age on this roster. Yeah, I think it's pretty poor. A lot of their good players are rather old, a little long in the tooth. So I'll be interested to see, does he jump right into a rebuild with this roster? I think I've typically been a fairly big proponent of avoiding that strategy with most of the teams that we cover. Kind of believe in let's go for the wins while you can. I just think with this roster, these players are gonna fall off the cliff so fast. Unless you just flat out believe you're just the better gamer in this division by a large margin, I think he's got to find a way to get out of a lot of these older players and just get something in return and allow that defense to grow and fix the offense as quickly as you can.
What move would you make then to do that?
I would start with this offensive line. I know some people don't believe in it, but there are individuals that do, and the ones that do would be willing to give you something, particularly for Pouncey, for DeCastro. You can get out of those deals, get a little bit of cap space, and get something in return. Build for the future.
Hit me up,
I think that's where I would start.
Hit me up. I'll take some O-line. I need it.
I would also probably move Cameron Hayward, particularly since he's in the final year of his deal. Again, if you don't think that if you don't know that you're the best user in that division, get out while you can. Hayward's a guy. Get him out of there. Get your cap space and take your cap hit year one and be done with it. Get something in return for the guy.
I like
Go
that
talk to
idea.
Van. Go talk to Van Smokes. Yeah. He's a big Steelers guy. So
there you go. One more note on Chase Claypool, the wide receiver. At 6'4", he has 95 jump. This dude is just throwing up to him at the back of the end zone.
Wow.
And alley-oop it to him.
That is that is who you build from day one.
Yeah, I really like that guy.
Wow.
So that covers
he starts
the Steelers.
with a respectable, spectacular catch too.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, at 22, if you're not focus training and developing this guy from day one, you're doing something wrong, really wrong. So, and if you're not going to do it, send him over to me. I'll take that guy too. So that covers the Steelers.
We are going to have the most loaded division after all of our shows.
I know. Just leaving ourselves wide open. All these moves we're going to make, right?
Don't worry about it. Nobody's trading with me. You guys are safe.
Oh, I'm sure you'll get it, Biz. Stop being down on yourself. You'll get there. So our fourth team in the division here is our buddy Kevin Brackett leading the Baltimore Ravens, and how excited was he to get this team? And of course, we kindly left this team to maybe the biggest Ravens fan in the league in Regan, and he decides not to show up for the show. So, the three of us get to cover the Ravens and Kevin Brackett and talk about Regan's favorite team while he's playing hooky. Mm-hmm. So, either of you want to talk about the strengths of what this Baltimore Ravens team is? Kind of obvious, but what's your favorite part of it?
Outside of the cover boy there, who honestly, I get the season he had. All right, did I think that would translate to a Madden cover and 94 overall? No. I think he's overrated. Absolutely for just coming off of one season, absolutely overrated in Madden.
Biz, do you think Lamar Jackson is overrated in Madden?
Not one bit. Not one bit is he overrated. So they treated him exactly as they should have treated him. He has tons of athletic ability, and his throwing accuracies are okay. Outside of his short accuracy is really the only accuracy that's elite. I want to say that his medium and deep accuracy are lower than Jameis Winston. I could be wrong. They're going to be really close, but I want to say they're lower than Jameis Winston. So I think they treated him exactly where he should be.
I'll tell you this. I played a scrimmage game against Brackett there in the trial, and yeah, I think he threw 5 interceptions with Lamar Jackson, and then a couple hours later he went and played Van and threw another 4 or 5. And about midway through the game, he jumps in main chat and he's like, "Hot take coming in from Brackett over here. Lamar Jackson's going to have the most tackles for any offensive player." So yeah, those accuracies are not the best, but Lamar is definitely a game changer. Maybe not in Kevin Brackett's hands, but I guess we'll see. Maybe he'll prove us wrong. We don't even know if Lamar is going to be on the team within 2 seasons.
That's correct.
What else?
I'm going to predict that he hangs out there. I'm a big fan of Brown, Hollywood Brown. How can you not like the guy? 97 speed. I haven't played against them since the real release of the game, but I know in the beta, I forgot who I played, but the man went for 300 yards on like 8 catches. It was a miracle my TV made it through that game. And Andrews is a monster as well. So yeah, but Hollywood Brown, I think that's the man.
I'm going to go a different direction. My favorite player, strong point of this team is young Patrick Queen, the 21-year-old middle linebacker. I like everything about this kid. I think he's going to be a game changer. While I was playing Brackett, he was using him on every play on defense and using him pretty well. And he seems like he moves really well. I think he's going to be just a headache on defense. I think, that's really where they need it, is that kind of soft spot there in the middle of the zone on defense. So it was a great pick by the Ravens to pick up Queen, and I think it bodes well for Brackett as he looks to man these Ravens.
Yeah, there's one problem that Brackett didn't anticipate, and that was the release of Earl Thomas. And I know when Set News came down, he's hoping this roster update that does not include that, but that left him scrambling, looking for a replacement, because there's really no one else on the roster that could, that's capable, of filling those shoes, but not even coming close to even filling half of those shoes. So he's been left.
There's a pretty big drop off.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. So if he's gonna, I know he's, like I say, he's looking around the league, seeing who's available out there at the safety position. So I know he's praying that roster update does not include this.
I gotta agree with you. When I marked the weaknesses of this team, I put 2 down: the safety position with Thomas out, and Brackett's thumbs.
Well, listen, I know that you guys have done this shamelessly through each of these little videos that we've done, so I'll do it today. Brackett, if Earl Thomas isn't there, I might have a safety that could be moved along. So go ahead and shoot me a message. Just throwing it out there.
What do you guys think if he's going to start making some moves? What are some of the moves that he can make? What's some of the trade bait he's got? Are there any moves that you see right away that he can do without ruining the poor reputation that he has in trading? What can he do to solve these problems?
Before I can answer that question, I need to understand Brackett a little, because I don't think we played each other last cycle. Just the timing that I came in, and if we did, we played each other once. What does he run, a 3-4 or a 4-3 defense? Because they're built for a 3-4. So can you guys answer that question, or I don't know.
I personally don't know what he specifically runs.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you either. I can't remember. Trying to think, he was the Chargers, and I think they were built for a 3-4. But I do know that for a fact that he's already got Calais Campbell on the block. I don't know if that's because of age or because he would want to make a switch in the way that they're built defensively as far as base defense. But what are you thinking there, Biz?
Campbell's not going anywhere. Just go ahead and pin it in. He'll be a Raven through the end of this season for sure. He's not moving.
Is that because he's asking too much for him?
I can neither confirm nor deny that particular statement.
There we go.
So my prediction earlier, my little guess was right. Okay. Just checking that off in my brain there so I know what you're after. Okay, Biz. So that goes back to, if whether he runs 3-4 or 4-3, what are you thinking there though?
Well, I'm trying to, because if he's flipping over to I think if he's flipping over to a 4-3, I don't think that there's many moves that he needs to make. And the reason why, I think Calais Campbell just slides right into defensive tackle. He's played that position before. And then he has Pernell McPhee, which is the outside linebacker. I think he slides down into a defensive end position for him. Obviously, you don't want to do that long term, but I think it fits short term, which Brackett really to be trying to take advantage of this roster as quickly as he can. So that was just part of my thought process.
So are you moving Brandon Williams out permanently?
Who?
The current defensive tackle, the 86 overall?
If he's going in at 4-3, then I think he's gonna have them play side by side.
Gotcha. Okay, if he's going 4-3, okay. I think he said 3-4. Yeah, because then he has Derek Wolfe on the other side,
who is also on the block right now. So
he has a pretty long trade block.
Oh yeah, it's
Kevin Brackett.
Yeah, I think one move he can make is what was mentioned earlier about J.K. Dobbins and NWS trying to get his guys. There's your move. There's your first move you make. Just do an interdivision trade and just get what you can for Dobbins. Just take advantage of NWS's Ohio State love.
Yeah, I think NWS would pay Brackett's mortgage to get J.K. Dobbins
for that. Yeah.
But do they have a safety that he'd be willing to give up there?
I don't know if Brackett would want the safety. Yeah. I don't know if Brackett would want that safety. I know NWS isn't sold on his safeties. I don't particularly think that he is locked into it, so he would move. I just don't know how much of a increase that is for Brackett.
I mean, Joseph would be a big upgrade there.
Yeah, or you could just go picks and talk about, Browns are young enough and stacked enough to where, you give up a pick or two and it's not really going to hurt the future of your team too much. And maybe Brackett just picks up that, grabs those picks and goes and grabs a safety in the next draft.
Yeah, and NWS can recoup those picks with Chubb or Hunt too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on Brackett's end, he's moving J.K. Dobbins, who isn't the starter either way. So he's stockpiling picks for the future. That really is a win-win. We might have just negotiated the first trade of XCFL this season. That might be official now. So
you might be right. Well, let's talk about some predictions here. We've been kind of going straight to who's going to take this thing season one. So do we think someone's out the gate the favorite to win this thing? If we're looking at Smokes, we're looking at Brackett, Wings, and NWS. Who's winning season one?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that offensive line does not matter, and Wings is going to win the division. That's my guess. And I think Brackett will finish second.
Yeah,
and miss the
Pride,
playoffs.
do you
because of the
think
NFC West.
do you think that Biz is really going out on a limb with that pick?
I mean, he did have to. He did have to caveat it with the O-line point, but I mean, Wings is too good to. I mean, he's good enough to get to overcome any O-line challenges. I mean, he's just an incredible user. I mean, he could. His team can sustain any onslaught that any of these defenses can bring. I mean, he's just that good. I think Wings wins a division consistently. I don't want to say every season, but because I don't know what to expect from Smokes. But I mean, just early on, Wings. I think Wings takes it as Smokes gets acclimated to how the XCFL works.
I think that's pretty unanimous. You know, I don't know that any of us think that Wings is going to have a hard time here. And if he sweeps this division throughout the next cycle, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised. So let's go a different route then. Is bracket NWS Smokes going to be able to steal any in-division games from Wings? Are they going to be able to at least make it difficult for him? Or is this just going to be a cakewalk for Wings throughout the entire cycle?
I think they are going to steal some games from him. I personally have to mark it impossible for him to play 24 games and not take a loss. So I do believe that they'll steal a game from him. So
I think it depends what kind of NWS we also get. He got really gunslingerish with Overbay, and there's a lot of times where he just sabotaged himself and just forced the routes that he was comfortable with, and you would see Overbay just end the game with 3, 4, 5 interceptions, and from what I'm hearing, the coverage is better this cycle, and the reaction is a lot better. So
much better.
Much better. I think NWS, if he refines his play style, and he could make it a little bit difficult for Wings, but I don't think enough to where he will. I love you in NWS. I don't think enough to actually win a division.
Yeah. I think
going back to the show that just finished, and if you guys remember that little survey that Regan sent out and was pestering everyone about, and one of the questions in there was who is most consistently inconsistent, and NWS won that one.
Oh, nice.
And to me, I'm pretty sure that's who I chose for that question, because it's true.
I think I did too.
Yeah, 1 week, I mean, he's a world beater, and then the next week he's just like, who is this guy? And he's just slinging it around. I think he's going to struggle at first with the change in the way the passing game works. And if he could get that figured out, I do think he has the best shot at making a run at Wings. But until that happens, I think Wings, this is his division to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to the next question then. Is since we think Wings is the favorite, does he have a shot to win a Super Bowl in this next cycle? Do we think he's going to do it?
Yes. I think he can, and he will get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I like his chances. He's going to be in the playoffs, in my opinion. He's going to be right there, and once you get there, if you're a good gamer, you have a shot. So, in the playoffs, he's a good gamer. He has a shot.
I agree with you guys. I think he's proven it, and I think he's going to win lots of games, and his team is just going to be kind of, I'm not going to say cruising through the regular season, because he's going to have some tough games, this and that, but I think they're just going to be primed and ready and fresh once they get in the playoffs. And he's not going to be a wild card, so he's going to be a division winner regularly, which means he's going to have one less game to play. So, it's going to be 3 games, and if you put 3 of them, 3 good ones in a row, then you're the champ. And I think he's got the chance. I think he's better than he wants to let anyone else thinks he is. He wants to try to fly under the radar, but everyone knows better than that. And so I think he could run with those guys in the AFC West and get to the final. And once he's there, I think he could do it. So it should be fun to watch.
Yeah, and like you said, he's going to win a lot of games, and success just quickly develops a roster. So he's going to be able to catch up with those stacked rosters in the AFC West.
I agree. Well, that's it for the AFC North. You guys have any further comments you wanted to add for this?
No.
Anything else stand out for you? What did we miss?
No, we usually
Nothing.
did a great job. Great job without Regan. I don't for some reason.
No fast food talk.
I mean, a little fast
topic
food
too far.
talk.
No, yeah. We didn't deviate much about what his preferred sauce is, and
I know.
Hey,
What a
listen, I'm
character,
probably
that
the odd guy here. I love Regan's little off rant conversations when he just steps off to the side of the road and talks a little crazy.
Most people do. They just don't like admitting it.
Yeah, we just need to find a way to clip it off a little quicker. That's all. It just goes. He makes it's like 4 comments too long. It's just bring it back a little bit. Bring it in.
He has no off button.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we're plugging along pretty good through these divisions. So this is our 5th one. That means we got to decide who we're doing next. And there's only 3 choices left. So are we looking at the AFC West? Are we going to the NFC East with those Redskins? Heath, the new Cowboys guy? We covering ourselves? What are we doing next?
I'd like to do the NFC East. I kind of want to save that power division last because it's that's going to be a long slog.
Yeah, I think
through a
NFC
lot.
East I think the NFC East makes a lot of sense here.
Okay. Well, we'll plan to look at those next. We'll talk to you guys offline and talk about who's covering Mighty Jack, who's taking on Grizz and his Eagles. We'll talk
Cap-strapped Eagles.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I know. He's already trying to brainstorm how to fix that situation. What a mess. But really want to thank you guys for stepping up, and especially for helping me cover Regan's homework. He missed this semester. So want to thank you guys, and go ahead and say your final comments and take us on out.
Appreciate you doing this again, Ace. I know you're new at this producing stuff.
Hey.
The stuff you've been doing has been phenomenal, and you've already got my Hall of Fame vote now. So.
Oh my goodness. Maybe I'll win the popularity contest.
You ought to, and you should. Listen, for those that don't know, Ace learned this little process here in about an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of work. I don't know how he did it. He probably Googled that thing and read some stuff, and all of a sudden he's a pro at it. So kudos to Ace. The man's doing a fantastic job. That's all I got. Cut the mic.
I'm gonna give the credit actually to Kylo, because he gave me a lot of help to get this lined up. So Kylo's the man. And talk about someone who you want to, if you have any questions, Madden, broadcasting, any of that stuff, hit up Kylo, and he's so happy to help you out. So thanks, Kylo. And thanks to everyone else that's listening. Really appreciate you guys sticking through these shows. For those of you that are listening, all the rest of you guys, forget you guys. Get out of here. So thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Aloha.
Appreciate it, everyone.
Holla.